Yes, once again, very delightful to have all of you here today. We are just going to be bringing you through the JC selection and subject combination sharing. And if you hadn't heard me just now, for those who have just joined, we've got two very wonderful teachers, Teacher Glendon and Teacher AJ. They are experts at different areas of the JC curriculum, so I'll let them introduce themselves a little bit more, and as well as our four special guest panelists that are on today. With that, I'll pass the time on to Teacher Glendon to kickstart us with the sharing.
A very good evening to everyone present, both students and parents. Firstly, heartiest of congratulations to all of you for completing your O-levels, all right? And entering junior college, I would say, is one of the next big milestones of your life. Just mute this lady. Okay, thank you very much. So if I bring myself back to the time when I was a JC student, JC was the most fun time of my life, and I'm excited for all of you if you are considering going to a junior college. But before I start, I think it's just good for me to share a bit more about the company. So OVERMUGGED, okay, we are not new to the scene of tuition. We are one of the fastest growing tuition centers. And across 3 years, we have had the privilege to help more than 3,000 students reach their academic dreams. And our team comprises mainly of expert ex-MOE teachers like myself, as well as ex-learning lab tutors. But generally, our whole team is filled with teachers who are experienced and dedicated to helping the students who come to us for help. All right. Now, we see education. Sorry, previous slide. Yeah, we believe that teaching is not just about going through the hard rigor of mugging and whatnot. We believe in a holistic approach. So that's why we have things like this current webinar. Okay, we do a lot of such stuff to try and help and uplift the entire student community. Okay, next slide, please. So we are known for really targeting and going hard on what students need. So if I can just share with you, the one thing that put OVERMUGGED on the map a few years back was during the era where MOE was removing all of the mid-year exams. And I think that's good. Reduces the stress for a lot of students generally. But we believe that in the graduating year, like your Sec 4 year, your PSLE year, and your A-level year, exams are important. They are very good milestones and checkpoints for students to know where they are. So what we did back then was we thought, okay, since no one is doing it, let's roll out mock exams to help reduce the student anxiety. And because of that, we gained a lot of following that even the Straits Times picked up on it and gave us that interview. And you also be very happy to share that last year we were awarded the SME 500 award. It's a very hard award to get, but we're very pleased of it. And a great thanks to all our students who have been supporting us throughout the years, as well as our parents. Next slide, please. So we specialize in secondary school and JC tuition, both O-level and IP. And our JC group tuition classes currently cover the following subjects: H2 chemistry taught by tutor Alex, physics, bio by me, H2 math, H1 general paper, as well as H2 economics. And with that, I'll just run you through today's sequence of events. So we'll be firstly covering JC selection. Some of the students here today will be wondering, I'm thinking of going to this JC. Hopefully, OVERMUGGED covers a bit about it. So we'll be covering 4 junior colleges by our panelists, and I hope they shed some light and it helps make your decision easier. We will then transit into JC subject combinations and our recommendations. Thirdly, we will then share with you, based on the subject combinations that you are interested in, how would they have domino effects when you want to go about applying for the university courses? And last but not least, we will end off with a Q&A session. All right. And so before we start, that's a little short introduction about myself before I pass the time on to tutor Alex. So I'm a former MOE teacher. I used to teach at the junior college for 7 years, and I've taught about 3 batches of junior college students. Generally, I love teaching biology, and I find biology can be made more interesting through the use of stories, anecdotes, as well as practical lessons. Won't spend too much time. I'll now pass my time on to teacher Alex to share more about himself. Alex, please.
Okay. So I'm AJ. Some people call me Alex, some people call me AJ, but in the education world, I'm more commonly known as AJ. Okay, so I'm the subject head for JC chemistry in OVERMUGGED. I've taught, so some background about me, I've taught chemistry for many years already. Chemistry from Sec 3 to JC 2. I've helped countless of students at A's for A levels and O levels. Okay, so today my goal for today is to help you guys understand the A-level system better and to give you a more in-depth understanding on some of the core science subjects. Okay, back to you, Gabby.
Thank you, Teacher Glennon and Teacher AJ. We're really delighted to have them here because honestly, students have been raving about their teaching. If you haven't seen our OVERMUGGED results yet, it's in highlights on our Instagram. You can take a look. Our teachers have really produced fantastic results. So if you are interested as well, please take note of Teacher Glennon and Teacher AJ. With that, I'm going to move on to our very first topic, which is JC selection. Could I just casually remind everybody as well to remain mute throughout the duration of the event, as that will help us very much with the webinar flow. I'll be introducing our very four special guest panelists. I'll let them talk a little bit more about themselves and bring you through a little bit more about their various JCs to help you with the JC selection. With that, Rakavi, you can go ahead.
Hi guys, my name is Ragavi. I'm a J2 from ASR JC. I'm pretty sure most of you just collected your O-level results and are probably quite confused about where to go. And trust me, I was in the same exact situation last year, listening to Mr. Glendon share about various subject combinations and school. That's why I'm here to share more about my experience. The subject combination I chose was PCME. And I went to ASR JC. First of all, the main reason why I went to ASR JC was because of the location. And one advice that I would give to y'all is that make the most of your J1 year, because in J2 it's really hard to find time, as you're probably mugging for your A levels. And in J1, you should give importance to both your ACADS and also
Sorry, just give us a second. We're having some technical issues. I think somebody on the audience side is not muted. Please make sure once again to mute, and Rakavi, back to you. All right, if not, we'll tune in back to Rakavi in a short while. Let's move on to Kai-Sing first. Once again, a casual reminder to everybody to mute your audio. Thank you very much. Kai-Sing, back to you.
Nothing.
Hi everyone, I'm Kai-Sing and I'm in SAGC right now. So you probably had a quite hectic day today as there are many open houses that happened today. So I really hope that going to those has helped you gain more insights onto the different schools that you may be considering, like the school culture, the school atmosphere. My subject combination is Chem, Econs, Math, and H1 History. And I took it mainly just because I have interest in like some of these subjects. So I won't spend too much talking now, but I just hope that new JC students
Hi, sorry, once again, please be reminded to turn off and mute your audio, as there's a lot of interruptions that keep happening due to people not muting their audio. We really appreciate if you do so, as there are many participants who have come here to learn a lot from our panelists. Kai-Sing, would you like to finish up? So back to you again.
yeah, I just hope that one really crucial piece of advice to me that I feel that most JC students should know is that you should really try to manage your time well, especially in your J1 year, because like in your J1 year you technically have more time, and like you should what do I put this? There are a lot of things you can do in J1 to help like boost your portfolio. So it's also good that you keep up your grades, because once you start falling behind, it's really, really hard to catch up. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kai-Sing, for that. With that, on to Ing.
Hi, I'm Ying, and currently I'm a J2 student in Fong Institution. My subject combination is Bio, Chem, Math, and China Studies in Chinese, so I take 4H2. And I think a fun fact about why I took China Studies in Chinese is because I really hated econs, and at that point of time in secondary 4, I really enjoyed learning Chinese and mother tongue, so I wanted to do a Chinese-related subject. And I was also doing pretty well in social studies, and I thought China Studies was a good mix of both. But yeah, and I think one piece of advice I'd like to give for the incoming J1s is that do know your priorities and your goals, especially for your future, and plan your JC as well. Because JC is only 2 years, and before you know it, the 2 years will be over faster than expected. And for me, my biggest regret in J1 was that I side quested a bit too much and I ended up losing track of my main priorities and my main goals. And that's half of my JC journey lost. And so I hope that you don't repeat the same mistake that I did. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ying, for that. That's really very important. O-level kids, please take note when you go to JC. Last but not least, we have Kavi. Kavi, go ahead.
Hi, so I'm Kavinaya and I'm from Raffles Institution. My subject combination is BCME, and one piece of advice I have for the incoming J1s is to manage your time and try not to procrastinate too much, because I feel like once everyone gets to JC, there's this notion of, oh, we have all the time in the world, and since it's just one big exam at the end of the year, you have like a lot of time to get everything you need to done, which really might not be the case and was my case this year. So yeah, I would advise the incoming J1s to take note of that.
Thank you, Kavi, for that. I'm sure all of you guys are curious as to why they chose the schools that they did. So I'll just let them explain a little bit more. Let's move on to evaluating Singapore's JCs. So these JCs are represented by our panelists, and we'll have Ying Ying kick us off with Hwa Chong Institution. Go ahead, Ying Ying.
Okay, so I think just to preempt everybody, I would spend a bit of time talking about my school's pros and cons. So firstly, for the pros, I think that my school does a really good job at offering a lot of career exposure and attachments and chances, because my school ECG department is really on, and they will send out frequent updates about different different industry and different field job attachment opportunities. Or if, apart from just the careers, you can also get a chance to go down to the universities to hear them talk or to experience their open houses. And because our school, moving on to one of the second points, is that our school is internationally more well known. So we also frequently have international schools give us talks online. And so you will get more, it's easier for you to learn more about international and overseas universities if you have an interest in them. Apart from that, I think that my school has a lot of readily available academic opportunities in various fields. So for example, for humanities, if you are considering the art stream, we have a humanities program where a lot of the HP students that I recognize and that I know at least personally, they are really strong in their academics and their extracurricular, so they can perhaps inspire you to strive for a greater goal or greater achievement. And apart from that, because I take Chinese studies in Chinese, I'm also automatically enrolled in the bicultural studies program, where I'm given a chance to go to China for 19 days straight, and most of it is paid by the school or by MOE, and I only had to pay about $200 from my own pocket out of the total 3K in cost. And for science students, if you really, really love to do research, we have a lot of research programs, and we also have an entire building dedicated to science research, where we have laboratories with really first-class equipment for you to really advance your research journey and your research pathway. And we have a lot of good teachers and professors who can help you along this journey as well. And apart from that, my school has pretty flexible subject combination choices compared to other schools, because I don't think I know of anyone who has been rejected for their first subject combination choices. Our school tends to cater as much as possible to whatever you want and whatever you need. And our school also has a pretty strong school culture. One of the examples you can see is our song, dance, and cheer, so Dache in short, where our school bonds over music and dances, and it's really an epitome of our school culture. And yeah, our school culture really shines a lot. And you will see it not only during orientation or during open houses, but in a lot of events and during NSG cherries as well. And last but not least, I think that our school has little to no JEE and IP divide. And I think on the topic of JEE and IP divide, which is what a lot of students, especially what I felt, and when I was considering what JC to choose, is that I don't think you should choose. Of course, JEE and IP divide is important for you, because you might feel a bit more, in a way, excluded because you may be a JEE student compared to IP students. But I don't think you should let that really define your JC career, because a lot of the IP students that I know, they don't care what's your background or what secondary school you came from. They only care about your personality and your work ethic. So as long as you have a good personality or a good work ethic that doesn't really irritate people or doesn't really, how to say, like be a bad team player, I don't think, regardless of background, what the IP kids will think of you. I don't think this just applies for my school, but for every other IP school. And okay, moving on to the cons. Undeniably, my school is a very intense marking culture. And one real life example that I can state for you is that on my first day of orientation, I met a girl who finished the whole H2 math syllabus already. So yeah, it can be really stressful, and that's why it can also lead you to feel a lot of peer pressure. So if you can't stand peer pressure really well, this is a point for you to consider. And and because our school is very strong academically, it can get really, not only is it very stressful, but it can also be really competitive because everybody is fighting for the same opportunities. And as much as my school can give as many opportunities as possible, the opportunities are limited. And each batch of students is relatively high, about 1,000 students per batch, including IP students. So yeah, you'll be a lot more fiercer to get the same opportunities. And another thing about the school that could be a bit of a turnoff for some people is that public perception and expectations of you as a Hwa Chong student is very high. And it doesn't really help when our discipline master enforces that a lot, because our discipline master would once in a while tell us that, oh, the public writes in and said that our students misbehaved or didn't represent the school well. And I think as a Hwa Chong student, even the teachers will expect you to be of a certain level or certain character that represents the school in a good spotlight, be it within Singapore or even on an international platform. And second last point is that our school is relatively old with a very rich history, but our building is also really rich in age. And so there's a lot of construction work going on right now in our school. And it may not cause, there is no major disruptions, but it can irritate you off on a like daily basis, like on a very small level perhaps, because you can smell the paint, or you can, once in a while you have to change your route to a different classroom just because that route is blocked for construction work. And last but not least, our school is known for being a Chinese majority school. So usually students from other races may feel a bit intimidated, and they might feel it's a bit hard to join our school because they don't think they belong. But I feel that like regardless whether or not you're a Chinese student or a student of a different race, it's okay, because I don't think the students in our school really judge you by race. As I said, they only judge you based on two things: personality and work ethic. And I think to end off my segment is that you can come to our school open house on 14 January, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at next to Tan Kah Kee MRT station if you like to really get a first-hand experience of the school culture, and also to learn more from different students and different teachers there, because I can only share with you so much from my perspective, but each different Hwa Chong student has a different story and a different view of the school. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ing, for that. That was a very thorough run through for HCI. We don't have too much time to delve into a lot of details, so if you have any questions, please remember to reserve them and write it down. Then you can ask at the Q&A session. With that, on to you, Kavi, for Raffles Institution.
Hi, so I'm going to be sharing a bit about the non-academic and academic opportunities and experiences that we have at Raffles Institution. So firstly, we have internship opportunities with a wide range of companies and organizations. So, for example, we've had internship opportunities for A-Star for molecular and cell biology. We've had law seminars where various pro bono lawyers, for example, come in to talk to us, and they can share more about their careers, and you can ask more about it. And yeah, we have a lot of opportunities throughout the year, so you can apply whenever you find yourself free. So yeah, those I found like really, really interesting. And secondly, we have quite a few leadership camps and opportunities. So in RI, we have a lot of chances for you to experience being a leader. So whether be it in CCA settings as a class leader or within council and it's like many subgroups, we have like a lot of opportunities for you to try experiencing leadership. And yeah, I would say we have quite a strong supportive culture, and we do lean on each other for uh, collaboration between CCAs or within CCAs and classes sometimes. So, yeah, that is one of our strong points in non-academic opportunities. As for academic experiences, we have quite a few enrichment programs. So, I'll just be going through a few examples of each. So, For community and leadership, we have peer helpers, which what happens is that the peer helpers work with the counselors quite a lot. They raise awareness about mental health in school, and they carry out inter-school events like Mental Health Awareness Week, where there are quite a few workshops for you to learn more about mental health and how it affects our school, Singapore, and yeah, various other things. So they would be in charge of those kind of events. For cross-cultural, there is the regional program and global studies program. So for regional studies, it's a scholarship program, and RI is one of the 4 centers in Singapore offering this. So it kind of highlights significance and learning about Southeast Asia. As for science, we have Raffles Science Institute, which is basically just research and attachment regarding science. So we have in-house research happening in RI for open labs and such, and there are also many conferences which happen. So if you're interested in that, there are a lot of opportunities. So there's humanities as well, where humanity students have basically customized lessons in RI for them to attend if that's what you are interested in. And last but not least, the E.W. Barker Institute of Sports Science Research Program. So it's basically to develop students' interest in sports science, sports medicine, sports journalism, etc. So it's to research and also make them interested and learn about this area. And there's also a overseas trip included, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, it leads into the next point where there are a lot of overseas opportunities for our school. So I think that basically during like holiday seasons, the school will send out a lot of opportunities for you to apply for, and you get to experience other countries' cultures and also learn alongside your schoolmates for it. So yeah, RI is a good place for those kind of opportunities. And last but not least, Raffles Academy. So basically, Raffles Academy is a more advanced study of science and math, and it has research, experiments, and Olympiads for those who are in it. So yeah, that is one of the experiences that you can have at RI. Thank you.
For that. Just to let you guys know, we are recording as well, just so that in case if you need to turn back and take a look at any of the information given, you can access it at a later timing. With that, I'll pass the time on to Kaisin.
Hi, so I'll just run through the pros and cons of SCS listed, but it wouldn't be in order. So okay, firstly, I feel like one very big thing that isn't really talked about in SA is that we actually have a really like good ECG department. The teachers there genuinely do care for our students. Like they want us to make e-portfolios already to list down like all the different things we've experienced in school, because in SA, especially at the end of the year after you've finished your promos, there are a lot of opportunities. Like you can go work shadowing, there's work immersion, which is where you can speak to a mentor on like I think a 6-month long thing to like discuss about like your plans for the future. There are a lot of talks where they will invite people from various industries, and you can choose which ones you want to go to, which does help because then you don't have to sit through a bunch of talks that you know you're not going to be interested in. There are also a lot of workshops and learning journeys. Like personally, I had a learning journey to NTU. So yeah, I feel like our ECG department is really good. Um, I think this goes for most schools, but the teachers in SAI are really approachable and willing to help students. Like most of my teachers are very open for any of us to just text them whenever like if we have questions, because to them it's like why wait for the next day to ask in class? So you can just text first and they'll get back to you when they have the time. So I think that's a really nice thing because it really does help when you are revising, especially late at night. And like if you maybe you don't note down your question, then you will forget it the next day. I'll go over the talent development program later. So in SA also there are really a lot of opportunities for you to make friends. So you don't have to be worried about like social life there. I know SA has a bit of it's a kind of known for having this party culture, but that really just depends on the people you hang out with. Like the people I'm with aren't really the type, so I'm not in that. I don't see that culture often. It's mostly our school anyways, so I don't think it should be. It's not really a negative thing, honestly, because it really just depends on the friends you make. there are really like a lot of opportunities. So even if you don't like the people in your class, we have things like PE modules we mix classes, so you can get to meet new people out like that. Sorry. Or we have like events where it's a day in the life of a CCA, so you get to choose another CCA to experience for a day. Regarding our academics, we have a lot of time practices near exams to simulate because like we don't have mid-years anymore, which some people might like, but personally I feel that mid-years are quite important. So the cover for that essay really gives a lot of time practices, especially during our promo season, to make sure that the students are well prepared. We also have a lot of overseas opportunities. Practically every CCA gets to go overseas, except student council actually, but that's besides the point. Most CCAs really get to go overseas, and like a lot of the programs that we have also help also offer overseas opportunities. We have a lot of student initiated programs as well, which some of them also go overseas. So I think that's quite cool. Lastly, we do offer this talent development program. It's the Humanities Scholars Program for art students and the Science Scholars Program for the science students. I don't know too much about it because the con about it is that it's actually quite exclusive in the sense where it's only offered to some students at the start of the year based off your O-level score. I do not know the cutoff for that, so I'm sorry I cannot give any more info, but from what I know, they get to go overseas as well. They had some exchange program in Thailand last year, and I think they have more opportunities in terms of like work shadowing and doing research in the universities. So yeah. Moving on to the cons. Our lectures are fully online. I know some people might not view that as a con, but I personally do because for me who takes a hybrid subject combi, my timetable isn't great sometimes and I can end quite late. So I have to finish my lectures at home even though I'm tired and prepare for my tutorial the next day. So yeah. We also have somewhat of a rigid subject combination in the sense where like if you want to take 4H2 subjects, you can only take PCME or BCME. Like I don't think there are any other combinations. And there are some combis that just don't allow. So SA has a list. You can find it online. Of the subject combinations that we offer, and I don't think there are any like room for negotiation on like those that is listed. I've talked about the timetable part, and I think this might be applicable for like all schools, but our relief teachers really are not great. I've been quite unlucky in my J1 year that 2 of my subjects have been relief teachers for half the year. My class was slipping a bit, but when the actual teachers came back, they did help us a lot. And lastly, there are really very limited canteen food options in SA. They recently have this new vending machine that has a microwave. Today was my first time seeing it. So, yeah, but if you're a vegetarian, they don't have vegetarian stalls in SA. So you'll have to go out and buy during your breaks. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Kaisin. We are running slightly late, so I'll push on to ASR JC. Rahavi, go ahead.
Yeah. For ASR JC, the pros would be that the chem and the math department are really good because the notes are actually really useful and the teachers are well equipped and if we do ask them any questions or if we do look for them after lectures, they are more than willing to help. And another pro would be that everyone enters the school through JAE and therefore there's no IP or JAE divide. I've heard from many different friends in IP schools saying that there is that divide and it is obvious. So sometimes they do feel left out. And however, ASR, our school spirit is really good. So please join ASR. And um, there are a lot of importance given to service learning activities. So not just academics, but our school focuses a lot on service learning because even during NDP and orientation, we did service learning and volunteering, which also helped us to grow. Actually, it was one of they give us a lot of opportunities, and they also share a lot of opportunities to us. Not just that, the tutors at ASR JC are really friendly and they are willing to help, because if we do look for them before and after school, they are willing to sit with us, they are willing to teach us, and they are willing to consult with us. Not just that, I really want to emphasize on the point of location. ASR is in a very central location. It's located between Kovan and Hougang. And I really want to emphasize on location because in JC, by the time you finish CCA, some CCAs might end at 9 p.m., some CCAs might end at 7 p.m. And if you do live quite far away, and if the distance to school is about a 1 hour travel, by the time you reach home, it's going to be 9 p.m. or like 10 p.m. And after that, you do have to finish your lectures and tutorials because you will be expected to complete your lectures before coming to school and your tutorials too. So therefore, I think location is also very important when you're considering your JC. However, there are some cons to ASR JC. One of the cons would be this is our old campus, so the facilities might be a bit old, but they are doing some renovations to make it newer, and like they are bringing a indoor sports hall, if I'm not wrong. And our new campus is under renovation at Amokyo, so that will open later, but your batch will be still in the old campus. But they do have like the basic facilities like lecture halls and sports hall. Yeah. Also, ASR JC is also known as a mugger culture. You would probably go to the Smart Hub, which is actually like a study room, and you'll probably see a lot of them mugging and trying their best to complete their tutorials and revising a few months ahead. However, this might be helpful and this might be motivating for some people, but then some others might find it stressful. So therefore, I'll recommend studying at home or libraries if you do feel that this might be a bit stressful to you. The canteen options in ASR are also quite limited because there's only one vegetarian stall, and other than the vegetarian stall, I think there's about 4 other stalls. And sometimes if the vegetarian stall auntie does get sick, the vegetarians would have to travel elsewhere. But the good thing is there's a hawker center and there's a mall right outside school. We can exit school after about 12:30 p.m. So yeah, there's a lot of shops at the hawker center. There's also in ASR JC, there's a fixed list of combinations that students have to choose from. There's a total of 152 combinations, which is a lot. But in other JCs, you're allowed to choose the type of combinations you want. And some JCs, you could customize your own combinations. If I'm not wrong, EJC is one of them. And in ASR JC, there's a fixed list of combinations, but there's a lot of options to choose from. The last point would be that the uniform is a bit thick. I know it's a bit hot, but the PE shirt is not really very appealing. But the good thing is we only need to wear PE shirt during PE lessons, and uniforms only on Mondays. So sorry, on Fridays. So yeah, that's it for ASR.
Thank you, Rakhavi, for that. I do see some questions in the chat. Please make sure to note them down. I have my team working on it as well. We will answer some of them towards the end of Q&A as well. With that, let's move on to the second topic of JC subjects and combinations, which Teacher AJ will bring us through. Teacher AJ, on to you.
Hi guys. So before I get started, okay, if you guys have any question about selecting JC or subject combination after this, there's a Q&A. And if you want a more casual one-to-one conversation, I'll be on TikTok live to answer all your questions, okay? It will just be a heart-to-heart talk, okay? So you hold on first. Okay, so let me explain to you the A-level system, okay? So you guys are the second batch of students doing this new system of 70 rank points, all right? So how does the 70 points add up? Each H2 subject is worth 20 points, okay? If you score A grade, of course. H1 will be worth 10 points if you get A grade as well. So if you enter a JC, you have to minimally get 3 H2 subjects, 1 H1, GP, and PW. Okay, but what is only included in the 70 rank points will be your 3 H2 or 1 GP. All right? GP is considered a H1 subject. Okay, so now what changed from the previous system of 19 rank points? Basically, they just merely remove PW. So just take note, guys. PW is now pass-fail. Okay, there's no A, B, C, D grade anymore. Okay, and your H1, you don't necessarily have to be included in the rank points unless it helps you improve your rank points. Then the system, they will do the math for you. All right, so what are the pros of it? Of course, there's now little stress to doing your PW. Okay, unlike my time whereby I have to focus on getting an A, because if you get a B, it will damage your rank points. But now you guys, luckily, don't need. Okay, thank God. Okay, so then, and you must be wondering, what about H1? Is it useless now? You can say that, but you have to take note that if, let's say, you were to consider your H1 subject useless and you don't really care about it, it means you're placing a lot more emphasis to do well for your 3H2. So you have to bear all this in mind. Okay? Of course, for those students who are considering 4H2, how the system works will just be 3 out of the 4H2 best grades. Okay, best grades out of the 3 4H2 that you have taken. Okay, the fourth one will be taken and treated as a H1 subject. If again, it helps you improve your score. All right, everybody understand? Now, next slide, please. Before we dive into detail into all the individual subjects, let me just talk to you about the prerequisite. Okay, science students need to take 3 science, 1 contrasting meaning arts, right? So if you are an art student, you have to take 3 arts, 1 contrast. Or you can be like Kai Xing, who is a hybrid student, 2 arts, 2 science. But the population of hybrid students is not a lot. Okay. Now, H2 math. Let's go into H2 math now. H2 math, you definitely need A math. Guys, open your ears. H2 math need A math. Okay, because H2 math require a lot of A math concepts. So if you don't take A math, you cannot technically take H2 math. Have to take H1. Right? H2 Chem. I'm a teacher of H2 Chem. H2 Chem, H2 Bio, H2 Physics. If you are a combined student, for those students out there in this webinar who are combined science, fret not, you can still take H2 sciences. Okay, it's just that there will be some things that you have not learned yet, but don't worry. At least for chemistry itself, there will be some topics that they will teach them from scratch again, so you don't worry too much about it. Okay, the pure chemistry students still have to unlearn and learn new things about the new topic. Okay, so don't worry too much. On the other hand, the arts are a bit more flexible. Okay, bear this in mind. If let's say you are interested in H2 history, for example, you do not necessarily need to have elect history or pure history. But of course, the obvious fact is that if you have such subjects during O levels, it will be helpful. Okay, so this applies to geography and literature. All right. Now, next slide. Yes, next slide. The first subject that I'll be introducing to you will be math. Okay, if you didn't know, most of your JC population takes math, JC math. It is a compulsory subject for most courses in university. Okay, in my opinion, it's a huge leap from Sec 4. Okay, it requires you not just to regurgitate the concepts or theories you have learned. It's a lot more cryptic. The students need to think and also figure out how to use what they have actually learned. Okay, most people who take H2 math, most people take H2 math in general among your future JC peers. Okay, those who struggle with numbers, I advise you to take H1 math. Okay, But you don't think that choosing H1 Math is an obvious choice. Again, going back to what I said, if you just choose H1 Math and you just don't care about H1 Math, it means that your 3H2, you must do very, very well. So are you going to risk it all? Okay, so you have to take into consideration. Also, there's such a thing called further math. Okay, for those math nerds out there, further math is for you. Okay, but you cannot take further math and not take H2 math. You will have to take the 2 math subjects. So out of your sciences, there will be 2 math subjects. So bear this in mind. And if you are keen in further math, you have to take an entry test. Okay, it's not as if you go in, oh, A math, I'm A1, you can take further math. No, you have to take entry test. And I heard the entry test will be like math Olympiad kind of question, if I'm not wrong. All right, next slide. As you can see, the H1 math, the number of topics will be half of H2 math. So I would say in terms of number of content, it's quite worth it to take H1 math because the other H1 sciences, at least, it won't be half, maybe 3/4. Okay, so bear this in mind. Okay, in general, your content covered in Sec 4, especially A math, will be a good foundation. Okay, Ken? So brush it up, brush your A math up before you head to JC lah. All right, I'll pass to Gabby.
Hi and welcome once again, everybody. Please remember to mute as the webinar is in progress. With that, I'll talk a little bit more about H1 general paper. So when you move from O levels to your JC, the thing that's going to be different is your H1 general paper. It takes place of the subject English, as you may know it. Now, H1 general paper is very different from O level English because as you can see on the screen, it tests your critical thinking and reading skills. It's really analytical and and you can divide it into 2 components. Firstly, the paper 1 essay, where basically 1 out of 8 essay questions is something you need to pick and you need to write a response to. The questions are really difficult. They can ask you things about consumerism. They can ask you current affairs, trends, and ask you what your opinions are on it, and they expect a nuanced answer. So this will take up a weightage of 50%, and 30 marks will go to content, while 20 marks will go to your language. This means they want nuanced arguments. They want content that actually allows you to look through the different arguments and not just present something that's very simple, like, oh, yes, I agree, no, I disagree. Moving on to your paper 2 comprehension, it's very different as well from your O-level comprehension. There are 2 added components that you have not seen before. The first component being something called AQ. So AQ is basically where they ask you about the passage and you have to make a small mini essay and argument stating, whether you agree with the passage, whether you disagree. This is a little bit more difficult and takes up a larger percentage of the marks. So you probably want to skip to the end if you are somebody who takes a long time and you want to finish that section first because it takes up a bigger percentage of the marks. Next is summary. They would need you to write a summary of the different passages you've read, but in words that cannot be found in the passage. So it's a little bit more tricky in that sense. And then for normal comprehension, as you know, in O levels, you have your short answer questions as well. So those 2 components, please take note, they are different. Next, moving on to H2 Econs. I think the closest to H2 Econs for you guys would actually be if you took POA, Principles of Accounting. So H2 Econs is basically a mix of the humanities and math together. People who take the humanities or are very good at art subjects, you might be like, hey, why is H2 Econs even considered a human subject? I don't know either. Honestly, there's a lot of math. So you'll end up drawing graphs. You'll analyze a little bit more about how the economy works, things like supply and demand, prices, taxes as well. And you'll also look at things like how economic policies actually affect different individuals and society's quality of life. So now the main thing I want to bring to your attention is the difference between H2 and H1 economics. So H1 economics covers 30% less of the content. Sorry, not 30% less. 30% less, correct, of the content. And you only have 1 paper to do. and it needs to be completed in 3 hours. For H2, however, you have 2 papers, and paper 1 is your CSQ, where basically you have some case studies. You have a lot of questions that test you on very in-depth concepts. So if you're somebody who is very good with your concepts, please take H2. If you're not very good with your concepts, you want to quickly finish the paper and get it over and done with, take H1. Paper 2 for H2 Econs is your essay, where you have to choose 3 out of 6 questions, and it tests you on a broad number of topics. It could be anything, but it's usually slightly better and more able, you're better able to prepare for your essays as compared to CSQ, because CSQ case study can be anything that they suddenly decide to pull up. So just take note for that for Econs. I'll pass the time on to teacher AJ for chemistry.
Wow, now finally my element, pun intended. Okay, I'm a very lame teacher, okay. So if you join my class, hope I make you laugh. Okay, so H2 Chem, guys, super important. It's a course science subject for science students. Courses like medicine definitely need chem, not bio, ironically. Okay, most or rather all science students will take chem, just whether H2 or H1. All right, spoiler alert, it's a big jump from Sec 4. I teach Sec 4, so I know. Okay, there's many overlapping topics from combined chem and pure chem. Okay, so it's a lot more depth to it. Guys, open your ears. I cannot emphasize enough that memorizing in H2 chem,
school teacher. I cannot.
memorizing in H2 chem may not even get you a pass. Okay, during O levels, you still can memorize the day before and still get a decent grade, but in JC, chemistry cannot be done just via memorizing. Okay, there are many application questions to it. Okay, it requires your conceptual understanding to apply to a more unique question. Also, if you didn't know, there is a lot of math spread across all topics in chemistry, not just in mole concept that you know of in secondary 4. All right. To put in summary, there is 4 papers compared to your 3 in O-level chem. So you realize that it's 1 paper that's free response. It's the heavy paper. Okay, so to be frank, it's not an easy subject. You cannot do last minute revision as what I said just now and expect some miracle. You guys, to put it simply, you have to maybe consider guidance and tuition classes to be ahead of your peers if you want to ensure your foundation is strong. You cannot wait till J2 and consider asking for help. By that time, it might be too late. Your problems might have piled up. Okay, it's that tough. Okay, because better prevention than cure. If you didn't know, we'll be having trial classes soon, so stay tuned to it. All right. On a positive note, chemistry in JC will open your eyes to the world of really understanding chemistry. I like to tell my students that O-level chemistry is open inverted commas, fake. Open inverted commas. In JC chemistry is when you truly unravel so many beautiful things about chemistry. You can see my passion for chemistry. Okay? In my own experience, it's when chemistry truly becomes alive for me and becomes even more interesting. And I understand the world of science better. And that is also why so many university courses prefer you to have chemistry understanding. All right. Now, going to the next slide. In terms of topics, H1 topics are quite similar to H2. Okay, some topics not included, as you can refer to the table. There are overlapping topics as well. The overlapping topics for H1 will be easier and much reduced. Okay. Just a heads up, my ex-student, after taking H1 Chem, they regretted. Okay, they regretted. You know why? They score so well, such that they felt that they should have taken H2 Chem because they feel that it could have weighed more in their rank points. But you also can argue with me that H2 Chem is much harder. True, but I feel that as a JC Chem teacher, if you are doing well in H1 Chem, you are most likely be able to do decently okay in H2 Chem as well. Okay, just a heads up. Also, if you didn't know, H1 Chem have topics that H2 Chem does not. In the next slide, nanomaterials. It's very unique to H1 Chem. Okay, polymer chemistry for H1 and H2 Chem is also very different. If you want to know more in detail about JC Chem, feel free to find me. And as what I said, later I'll be doing a TikTok live. You can ask me. Next slide. H2 physics. To put it in simpler terms, you must be super good in math. Specifically good in A math. If you didn't take A math in secondary school, I suggest H2 math might not be something to consider. Because the physics teacher shared to me that you need to understand integration, differentiation, theory. You don't have to do the math for integration or differentiation, but you have to understand it. Also, a lot of trigo. If you hated trigo in Sec 3, Sec 4, this is not it for you. And theories about vectors. All right, do take note. Next one, you don't need to memorize formulas. Sorry. You don't need to memorize formulas. They will be found in data sheet, unlike in O-levels. Okay, Shell, it's a math problem compared to O-level physics. As what the physics teacher shared to me, O-level physics is the how and the what. JC physics is the how much. Okay, bear this in mind. H2 physics, not easy as well. If possible, do seek guidance early on to have a head start and have more practice. All right, next slide. In terms of topics, of course, topics. All right, so in terms of topics, you have to take note there will be new topics also, such as gravitational field, oscillation, nuclear physics, quantum physics. All right. Ken, I'll pass on to bio next, which is Glendon.
All right, everyone, it's finally my turn. Yeah, so I'm going to share about bio. So bio generally will continue from the O-level biology syllabus. So first question some of you might ask would be, what if I take combined bio? No worries, but just as a overall, I would say, guiding principle, if you are in a combined science syllabus, either chem physics or chem bio, and when you go to junior college and you want to take H2 sciences. Now, that's not what AJ was saying is there's a minimum requirement, but you could please go forward and ask the teachers in charge. Now, whatever the school says is really to help students succeed in school. So if you're taking combined bio and you want to take H2 bio, the bigger concern that the school has would be you did not cover certain learning objectives as a combined science student. So what the school will do is, if they were to allow you to take H2 bio, they will give you some kind of helping program, usually a bridging course, okay, where they teach you the topics in pure bio, which you did not cover, so that you are able to keep up with the rest of the cohort for H2 bio. Right. Now, back to H2 bio. So H2 bio, similar to the other sciences, there's an MCQ paper, structured questions, long structured question, and a practical component. What I'll share more about would be the long structured questions and the structured questions. For the structured questions, it's very exciting. It's about usually 9 to 11 questions back to back for 2 hours. And each question is usually focused on one particular topic of biology, all right, of the syllabus. For the long structured question, it's kind of like how they jump up all the different topics together. They can take 5 different topics and put it into one 25 to 30 mark question to really test the students' ability to link the different topics together. And at the end of that free response long structured question, there'll be 2 other shorter ones, but there will be an essay component where you get the chance to showcase your love for and passion for biology by writing down and answering an essay question. What I've heard is there have been some changes to the syllabus. So for this essay component, it's taking on more of a spin towards GP, where not saying it's a GP essay, but the way they want students to portray the answer, it will involve some critical thinking rather than just writing down content from the syllabus. All right, next please. Okay, so for the H2 and H1 topics, I'll start first with the H2 topics because most of you will be interested in that. There are 4 key ideas. The first one is the cells, okay, and biomolecules of life, genetics and inheritance, energy and equilibrium, biological evolution, and the last 2 extension topics, climate change and infection and immunity. Now, the pure syllabus in O-levels, it will give you a very good foundation to easily clear the cell and biological molecules of life. So your enzymes, okay, cell biomolecules, not that big a difficulty. Okay, but when it comes to genetics and inheritance, that is where I say biology really comes to life. So what you've been learning in pure bio, I would say it's really more towards general science. When you come and do JCH2 bio, you are really getting very wet and into the deep end of biology. So if you've always wanted to know about DNA, how come my cells can produce certain proteins? How does someone get cancer? Okay, how does a bacteria grow and develop? All of this will be taught in this particular portion. And I personally find it very, very exciting. I'm a nerd lah. As you can tell, I'm a bio nerd. I love it. So to me, this is like, wow, okay, my kind of thing. When we go to energy and equilibrium, since primary school, lower sec and upper sec, you have learned bits and pieces on photosynthesis. Okay, you learn a bit and pieces about respiration. And if you're dying to know more exactly how does a plant take sunlight and convert it into the rice grain that I'm eating for dinner later, okay, this is the time that you're learning. All right. Then just as how we can WhatsApp each other, Telegram, Instagram story, cells can do the same, and that's covered under cell signaling. All right. Now the second last topic category, biological evolution, is if you're the kind of person who lies in bed at 2 to 3 a.m. and wonder, why am I here? Where did I come from? That kind of stuff. Evolution will answer a bit about that, okay? And you also help to explain how come there are so many different varieties of organisms in the world. The last part, the extension topic, climate change, in all honesty, it's really geography packaged into biology. What you'll be learning will be how different environmental factors, okay, affect living things. For one big part of the topic, you will become an expert on mosquito. Okay, you will learn how dengue mosquito comes about. And in all honesty, as a typical Singaporean, most of us know the life cycle. So it's not too hard. Infection and immunity. As the generation that went through COVID, you already have a little head start in this. And in that topic, which most of the JC bio students really love, you get to really find out how does your body immune system work, okay, to protect yourself, as well as how does your body react whenever you are falling sick from a flu or a bacterial infection. Now, moving on to the H1 topic. So the H1 topics are pretty similar to the H2. There are certain overlaps, but at the nitty-gritty level, the learning objectives are much more simplified. And I'll just give you one very simple example. For photosynthesis, okay, a typical school will take about 2 to 3 lectures to finish the entire syllabus for H2 syllabus. For H1, it probably can be done in 30 minutes to 1 hour. It's really, really much more simplified. But that being said, okay, with the new system where you can take a H1 and there's no repercussion to put it in your grade, it's mainly for students who all the while in secondary school, maybe because your school didn't offer bio as a science, okay, or you're just too afraid, or you're a student now who is thinking, I've always liked bio, but I've always been pretty scared of science. I would say H1 bio is a very good contrasting subject to take for those of you who are interested to try it, especially now when there's very little, I would say, risk involved. And for most of the H1 students that I've taught in my career, they are really students who really wanted to try bio for the first time, but never got the opportunity in secondary school. And they loved it. By the end of A-levels, they were like, oh my God, Mr. Hua, thank you so much. Such a fun and enjoyable subject. And some of them even went to university and took up a degree in biology. Okay, now, next topic. Next slide, please. Okay, now moving on to possible subject combinations. Okay, so for science combinations, and I believe just now Kaisin shared a bit about this, the importance of a combination, 2 parts, whether it can get you the course that you want. Second part is, does that make your timetable very common? The more common your combi is, the easier it is for the school at the back end to fit in your timetable. And that gives you a very compressed timetable, which allows you to come to school on time and leave relatively earlier. So the most common subject combinations for science would be PCME, okay, BCME. If you're wondering, can I take physics, chem, math, and something else? You can't. There's no such combination. That's why just now when tutor AJ said chemistry is the most important science, it truly is, because you are not able to do that. Okay, so the main difference in both sides you will see is just that either you're taking physics or either you're taking biology. All right, so if you are taking PCME, okay, you'll be able to enter 99% of the courses. Now we put 99% of the courses here because, you know, to protect ourselves. But generally with PCME, you can enter every course as long as your rank point reaches the minimum criteria. Right? Now for BCME, Second most common when you're doing a science combination, you can enter most of the courses as well. Your generation is pretty, I would say, lucky and not lucky. Right now, because the Ministry of Education wants to really open all doors, if you're going to an engineering course, you don't really need physics. Okay, you can hear that again. If you are going for an engineering course, you don't really need physics. But then again, would you want to do that to yourself? Likewise, in Singapore, you don't need biology to enter medicine school. Okay, there's a very long reason for that, but it dates to back in the long time during Lee Kuan Yew's era. They wanted more people to become doctors, but we also needed a lot of engineers. So because of that, PCME students can also enter medicine school. But same analogy, if you want to go into the engineering field and you don't take H2 physics, you're going to put yourself at a disadvantage. Likewise, if you want to go into the medical field, nursing, medicine, or into the research area of biology, okay, you want to do a PhD in it, you want to research on some drugs and medicine, having H2 biology will make you be at the forefront of the cohort at university, right? So these are the two main common subject combinations, okay, in school. The only thing that will really change is your H1, okay, your contrasting humanities. And before I move on to the next part, okay, so I'll go back, please. Math has to be there. You actually need math to enter most of the courses in Singapore. So once you drop H2 math, you really can only go towards a combination, course in university, which is towards the humanities portion. All right, which I'll talk about on the next slide. Okay. So for art stream, possible combinations, most common ones is geography, okay, econs, literature, as well as math. Math here is H1, okay? Then history, economics, literature, as well as math. Do take note for geography is very exciting. There's field work involved. So in the school that I was from, the kids got to go to, I think, 2 different external excursions. One, I think, in Indonesia. So they got to go and really be on the ground and learn geography. So it's very exciting. Okay, so for art streams, if you take the most common combination, the timetable is very, very, I would say, compact. Now, what can change would be, if you heard just now, our panelist, Ying shared, she takes China studies in Chinese. Other possible things that you can take will be H2 art, all right? Nothing wrong with that. But if you take a very niche subject combi, what happens now is this, because most of the school's timetable will be to settle the rest of the cohort, by the time there is a free slot for all the art students in various combis to be free, it's usually very late after school, like 4 p.m., 5 p.m. So yes, you will have a lesson from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. throughout the year. So this is not to scare you, but just to paint you a very, very, I would say, honest picture that if you want to take a combination that is out of the usual ones, you need to be prepared for a timetable that is also very unusual. All right. Now, next thing is this. Once you decide to go into an art stream, the potential university courses that you can do will be mostly towards law, communication, or anything inside FASS. You will really be unable to apply to any science or engineering courses. And this is with 100% certainty. The easiest way to confirm this, okay, is to go to all the different universities, check under the combinations for the respective courses you want, and look at the requirement. So for all the science and engineering and medicine courses and nursing, you will see this particular statement. H2 math is needed plus a science. Okay, H2 math plus a science. So once you have H2 math, it really closes a lot of doors. So for those of you who really know that I am not going to end up studying any kind of university course in the area of science and engineering, okay, then art stream is for you. Okay, you will love it, you will enjoy it, okay, you will be among people who also enjoy it. And if you're the kind that all your life in school, I don't like triple science, I don't like math, but to study it, you will find your tribe. You will really find your tribe. All right, next slide, please.
All right, thank you, Teacher Glennon, for that lovely rundown. As he mentioned, there are a lot of courses that are needed for uni. Specific courses will map to specific uni courses. So if you are unsure, please check them out. Meanwhile, we're moving on to our panelist subject combi reviews. First off, let's hear from Rakavi.
Yep. Okay, I'll be talking more about my subject combi. The subject combi I chose was BCME. Okay, it's the second most common subject combi that people usually take. I always knew that I wanted to do sciences rather than arts. I was more of a science person than arts. So therefore, I decided to go into BCME because first of all, I enjoy bio. And second of all, Math and Chem are subjects that are usually needed for many university courses. And lastly, for econs, econs is because sorry, econs is because I didn't really enjoy geog as much. One way to study math would be to just do a lot of practice papers and a lot of questions, because math, the jump from secondary school math to JC math is quite wide. So I really, really encourage you all to do a lot of papers and a lot of questions. And moving on, some of the tips that I have is manage your time well. I really, really, really want to emphasize on this because this picture is me right before promos. On normal school weeks, make sure that you, even if you can't revise, make sure that you complete your lectures and tutorials on time, because so that you can follow what your teacher is going through during lessons. And trust me, this will help a lot for your exams, because the questions that are in your tutorial are usually commonly tested in your exams. So some of, also about lectures, some of these lectures can be online, but then however some are face to face. This is depending on your school. And in my school, all my lectures except for chemistry is online. So I'm expected to go home and watch all these lectures and come to school with my lectures watched and my tutorials finished. And make sure that, and take note that your tutors will not reteach this again. So make sure you make time to watch your lectures and do your tutorials. I also want to emphasize on the point about building your portfolio. This is a year that you really need to build your portfolio, because first of all, in J2 it's really hard to find time, and in this year you will be provided with a lot of opportunities too. And a few ways to find out these type of opportunities is just go to Google and just search about volunteering or whatever you're passionate about. There'll be a lot that pop up. So make sure to make the most of your time. I know y'all will have a lot on your plate, so just make sure you prioritize both studies and other activities equally. Also, don't procrastinate. Trust me, once you decide to procrastinate, right, it will be really hard to catch up. So make sure you make the most out of your time. One more thing is make sure you enjoy and you're passionate about the subject you're taking, as that will affect the way you're studying and the way you view that subject. So make sure before you choose your subject combi, make sure to ask yourself what you enjoy studying, and is this method or is this subject you're studying, do you see like results, or do you see that you're having fun while studying, or even do you see the effectiveness of your study methods? Also, for my future plan, as you may know, being in JC is a whole new ball game as compared to the past, where is if you were to if you okay if you were to enter a competitive courses like medicine, you not only need to excel academically but in your extracurriculars as well. Hence, other than internships, Ying Ying and I, the other panelists, are in a healthcare related interest group called the Youth Healthcare Alliance. To give a quick summary of what we do, we want to provide you a unique out-of-school experience to explore the healthcare sector through not just volunteering, but job shadowing, program planning, and more. We just posted our first Instagram post today, introducing a bit more about our group today. So you can go check our first Instagram post at Youth Healthcare Alliance _YHA on Instagram. Also, what sets us apart is also the fact we are an inter-JC group, so you get the opportunity to mingle with students of your age from various backgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Moving on, we have Kaising to talk a little bit more about her own subject combination. Go ahead, Kaising.
Hi. So as I mentioned earlier, I take a hybrid combination where I do H2 Chem Econs Math and then H1 History. So just a really quick run through of why I chose to take such a combination is because in secondary school I took pure history and I found that I actually really enjoyed history. But I also knew that I wanted to do a science stream because I feel like it just helps to open up a lot more uni choices since I'm not very sure about what I want to do in the future yet. Because of that, in SA actually, H2 history is only offered to art students. which is why I wasn't able to take H2 history even if I wanted to. So I settled H1 history. For chem and math, the reasons why I took them is because it's a bit practical choices. Like chemistry, as mentioned earlier, is like very important for a majority of uni courses, especially H2 chem. And I found from secondary school that I didn't really enjoy physics when I took pure physics. So I decided to just take one science because my chemistry isn't great. So this leaves me a bit more time to focus on chem. For me, H2 math is also a bit of a practical reason where like a lot of uni courses need it. Plus, I've never particularly struggled too much in math in a sense where always before exam, as long as I grind it enough, I can do relatively well. So it's a very practical decision. I decided to take H2 econs as well. It's partly because of my more restrictive subject combination choices, but also partly because I don't know, I feel like it's good to know about econs because life skills and it's not like I took POA in secondary school, so I just thought that this exposure would be good for me. I say the difficulty of my subject combination is 7 out of 10, but it might just be because I have a lot of other commitments in school. So I think technically speaking, it shouldn't be as difficult as like your PCME subject combis, but it really does depend for person to person. Okay, moving on. For my reflections is I really experienced quite some difficulty in my time management because like I said I end quite late at times. Like my timetable usually ends at 4 and I still have to do my lectures, my tutorials, etc. And I'm also in student council, which makes it so I have a lot of extra work beyond that. So that is one very big thing that I struggled with that really caused my grades to slip quite a bit. And also I feel that when you choose your subject combinations, you should really go for stuff you're interested in. So although two of my subjects are more practical reasons, I still feel that it is quite important to take subjects that you have interest in, like me with history, because it does help motivate you to study for it more. After A levels, I do hope that I can find some more time to like really do more research and have a clearer idea of what I want to study in the future. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you for that, Kai-Sin. Moving on, we have Ying, who's going to bring us through her combination.
Okay, so my combination is biochem, math, and China studies in Chinese. And I think my rationale for saying why I wanted to do China studies in Chinese was mentioned earlier. Then for me, because I did triple science, and I don't know, I think some of you might recognize teacher Daryl. He taught me chemistry and physics when I was in Sec 4. To me, I did fairly well in all three sciences. And why I chose bio over physics was because I enjoyed learning more about human body and bio more than physics. Because even though I enjoyed what I was learning in physics, I didn't really see a stronger link to physics as compared to bio. And so that's why I wanted to do bio. And also because I knew from some of my seniors who took physics in JC was that physics was really math heavy. And although I did somewhat well in A maths, it wasn't something that I enjoyed. And so I didn't want to put myself and do something that I didn't enjoy for my sciences for my next 2 years in my JC journey. And I would say the difficulty level of my subject combination is 8/10 because it does require a lot of brain work. Although for now, I feel like bio is relatively content heavy, but you don't need to entirely memorize it. You just need to do a lot of practices. But mostly what contributes to the difficulty level of my subject combination is mostly due to China studies in Chinese because it's such a niche subject. You can only find it in 4 schools. Other than Hwa Chong, there's also EJ, RV, River Valley, and also EJ, and there's also another school. And so you can't really find TYS to work with. All the past A-level year questions can only be provided to you by your teachers, and it's also really hard to find notes on it. Trust me, I went to Carousel to find CSE notes outside of my school, and it's really hard to find. And there's very little guidance in the CSE aspect. You can only get guidance from your teachers and your seniors. So that's what makes it quite difficult. And my dream uni course is of course medicine, because I've been dedicating my life to medicine and I really do enjoy what what you learn in medicine, and I really hope that I can be a doctor in the future. Then some reflections is that there is a steep learning curve from secondary school to JC. I know a lot of your seniors will say that to you, but I don't think that anything can really mentally prepare you for this steep learning curve. For this steep learning curve that you experience in J1. It's really a huge reality shock, no matter which JC you go to. And you will need some time to get over this like steep learning curve and to really adjust and adapt yourself to it. And for me, a lot of the next pointers that I'll share is a lot of study tips that I thought were useful to me. So first is to do a lot of practices, because you can't just simply memorize content of a book and regurgitate it in a paper like you do for O-levels. A lot of A-level questions, be it for chemistry, math, or bio, or any other subject, it's a lot of applying what you know to a different context. So you have all the content that you learn in your textbooks as a foundation, but you need to be able to apply this foundation to a broad spectrum of questions. And for this, I think Mr. Glendon can help prove like my point, because he helped me jump from a bio grade S from term 1 all the way to term 3 to a grade A in promos. Even my bio teacher was shocked that day, and she kind of praised me. So yeah, thank you, Mr. Glendon, for marking my 5 sets of bio papers. So 5 times 4 papers, 20 papers during 1 month. And also, I think you should be very, very interested and love what you're studying, because there's a lot of things that you will learn for each subject, and if you total it all across all your different subjects, it's really like a sea of content that you have to learn. And if you don't enjoy what you do, and you don't love what you study, you will find that it's more torturous than it's very torturous actually. And you'll find that you'll be mentally more burnt out. So to be interested and to love what you're studying really helps you maintain your pacing, and it really helps you to maintain your drive so that you can push through all the challenges that you experience during JC. And also one thing is that consistency is key. You will be learning a lot of content, and you can't just leave everything the last minute to study. For example, like 1 month before exams to study all your content, because that's it's realistically impossible to do so and to want to get a good grade. At most, you can barely scrape the surface, and you can get a bare pass. So I think going home each day and spending just about half an hour to go through all the content that you learned for the day will help build a good foundation and help you really engrave that knowledge into your brain, so that when you want to extract it in the future, it'll be a lot less painful and it'll be a lot easier. And last but not least, you should be able to link everything you learn together, not across the subjects, but at the very least, within your own subjects. Because when you realize that you can link everything together, you realize a lot how much easier it is to answer questions. And it also helps you a lot when answering questions, because, for example, using bio as an example, a lot of bio questions, they don't ask you to answer using a concept from one chapter, but they extract it across multiple chapters, and they ask you to put that all together, and you can at most only get 4 marks out of that one question. And so for my future planning, I think I want to do a lot more job experiences, and so that I can really boost my experience and my knowledge in the medical aspect and healthcare aspect, as well as to prepare for interviews and admissions, because medicine is a very long journey. And to get into medical school, I know of friends who have been preparing since the start of secondary 1. So it's really competitive, and I really hope that I don't miss out on much. And last but not least, along with Ragavi and the other team of members at Youth Healthcare Alliance, we hope that we can do a better job at supplying what you need so that you can boost your extracurricular part. So you can boost your extracurricular aspect of your journey in JC with little worries, and so that you make sure that you don't lose out, especially if you want to apply for competitive courses in the healthcare sector, whether it's medicine, dentistry, or much more. Yeah.
Thanks, Ying, for that. If y'all pay close attention to what both Ying and Raghavi plugged, basically they're doing something to help students to build their portfolio, especially for those who are interested in getting into medicine-related courses for university. So if you're interested, please pay attention, and we'll drop the name of what they're doing in the chat later on. Last but not least, we have Kavi to share as well.
Hi, so I'll be sharing a bit more about my subject combination. So it's also BCME, and I would rate it a difficulty level of about a 7 out of 10, because mainly leading into my reflection here, but it's, as I said, it's a higher workload from secondary school. So yeah, I think everyone should be prepared for that. And my dream uni course and my aspirations, I'm still deciding and keeping my options open. So it's one of the reasons also why I took my subject combination, because I feel like if you really don't know what you want to do in the future, like me, it's safer in a sense to take something that opens up a lot more doors when you do know what you want to do. So yeah. And as for some advice, as I said, there's like fewer subjects in JC, but a way higher workload from secondary school. So I think that everyone would have to be prepared for that when coming into JC. And yeah, it really does hit you hard, but I think that if you find the right support, you can get through it definitely. And secondly, revising early is really, really important because, as I said, work piles on really fast, and it's easy to get sidetracked in JC because you're doing a lot of other things like building your portfolio, going for volunteering, and everything. So, yeah, just make sure to stay on top of your academics on top of that because the school year does pass on really, really fast. And thirdly, I would really advise to use all and any resources available, which this was one of the mistakes I made when I this year, because I really think I could have utilized like what we had a lot more. So free notes available online, like just searching. I think OVERMUGGED has some really great notes online as well. And yeah, just searching for your subject notes online will give you a lot of free resources to refer to, which also saves you a lot of time instead of making your own notes when you don't really need them. So yeah, and consultations with tutors at school, I think it's a very underrated part of help. So like, yeah, it may seem like a bit scary and a bit daunting at first, but I assure you it's really, really beneficial. And yeah, most of the time the tutors are really happy to help you and just clarify your doubts. And it really helps to have that one-on-one time sometimes. So yeah, do utilize your resources as much as possible. And extra school papers again can be found online, or your school may provide them depending on which school. But they really, really help, especially in terms of practice, because in JC especially you need to practice a lot more than in secondary school. So yeah, please use those resources more. And last but not least, I think it will be really, really effective if we have clear goals in mind to achieve, because I think that having something to work towards throughout the year will help you stay on track and help you focus and get through those nights where you seem like, nothing will help. It helps to say that, oh, I have this thing to work towards and I have this thing to be motivated for, and this is why I am doing all this. And as for my future plan, it's basically to stay on track for A levels. Yeah, and I really want to make sure I do well to ensure that when I do have a clear idea of what I want to do, I can achieve that. And getting ready for admissions, which I have gathered to be a very intensive process. So mostly building portfolios and getting ready for interviews and stuff like that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Kavi, for that rundown. I think the most important thing that she touched on is, preparing ahead for your university. Your subject combination in JC right now actually determines where you will go for your university. So with that, we're moving on to our very third section for tonight, which is subject combinations and university course implications. So this is information that we have compiled for you guys. We are telling you early and helping you to plan in advance. So please take note about this. With that, I'll pass the time on to teacher Glennon to do so.
Hi everyone, it's me again. Thanks for all the questions in the chat. Okay, lovely questions, very relevant. I think some of those questions will be addressed in this particular portion. So firstly, let me start with engineering. So if you want to go into any particular engineering, particular course, okay, do take note the ideal combination will be physics, chemistry, math, H2, and your H1 is actually not very, very relevant at this point of time because they're really just going to look at the minimum criteria to enter, which will be having H2 math and one of the sciences, one of the H2 science. Right? But generally, because you already know I want to do engineering, having physics knowledge would help you. Then you might have a question, what if I don't take physics and for some strange reason, I do get into engineering at university? Well, in year one, the first semester for 6 months, there will be a generic physics module. And you, in a nutshell, you will be taught and tested the entire A-level H2 physics syllabus in 6 months. So yeah, they will still teach you, but at a pace which is not so forgiving. Okay, next. Now for medicine, okay, the other combination like I mentioned, similar to physics and engineering, if you want to do medicine already, biology will put you at a head start. If you don't take biology, yes, you can still go into medicine school, but you have to relearn everything and you have to struggle. Now, one very important caveat is this. Singapore is the only country in the world where you don't need H2 bio to apply for medicine school. If you are intending to do overseas medicine school, you need to have H2 bio in your subject combination. So let me repeat that once again. Singapore is the only country. If you intend to pursue medicine in Australia, okay, UK, US, or any other country, okay, which is known for a medicine school, they will require you to have H2 biology. And if that is not in your set of results, you will not be able to apply. All right, so I thought I just made that very clear. And if you're wondering what is your chance of entering medicine school, currently Singapore has 2 medicine schools, okay, and the third one, which is undergrad, is postgraduate. I won't talk about that. But in NUS, the average enrollment per year, okay, of year 1 medicine students is about 200, 250, thereabouts, okay. For LKC medicine school at NTU, it's roughly also about 150. So both numbers are going up because the Ministry of Health has spoke to MOE and tell them, please increase the numbers. We need more doctors as our population is aging. You might be wondering, how come this guy knows all of this? Let's just say I have my sources and they're all very credible. All right. If you're wondering why Ying and Ragavi keep mentioning portfolio, the biggest difference in how you get into medicine school is not really about the grades. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, okay? Generally, you will need very decent grades. You do not need straight A's to enter medicine school. So let me repeat that. You do not need straight A's. I've passed students who got, go back to medicine school. Okay. I've passed students who've entered with 3 A's and 1 C. What they will look out for is your CCA record, your portfolio. So nowadays, okay, what they're looking for in a doctor is whether the doctor has the passion for the patients. Do they have a serving attitude? Do they mind doing the hard work, okay? Do they mind doing the grind? Because it's not easy being a doctor. So what they look for is whether this person has showed a consistent interest in the medicine field. And how do you show that? In your year 1, you applied for attachment to some particular clinic. Okay, at the end of A-levels, you were attached to another hospital. So you helped out at a hospice, okay, or you're helping out at a nursing home. These kinds of stuff adds value to your portfolio. All right, and that's what the interview panel wants to see. So the first part is really, can you build a robust portfolio to really show that you care as a future doctor? The next thing would be the interview, and which is really very, very hard. Now, there are outside companies who will tell you, oh, you pay us money, we teach you how to pass the interview. The interview is under a lot of secrecy. Okay, it's very hard to enter. But what they will ask you at the interview will be questions that will force you to think, why are you even there? So a very simple example will be this. If you're thinking, you go into the interview and they ask you, why do you want to be a doctor? Okay, they ask you, why do you want to be a doctor? And you say, oh, I want to save lives. Outright, they'll tell you, go and be a nurse, go and be a paramedic, go and be a vet. You can also save lives. Okay, go and learn CPR, that's good enough. And you will fall flat. So the interview is the major hurdle of whether you get to medicine school or not. All right, next, please. Okay, so for law, generally any combination, whether you're science stream, art stream, okay, will qualify you for law. Simply because law is a degree where they are really looking for whether you can put forth your ideas. The main job of a lawyer is to put forth his or her client's case. So getting decent grades and getting a very good grade in GP will give you a very strong advantage. And in Singapore, you have NUS Law School or SMU Law School. All right? Okay. But generally, if you're in art stream, most of the art stream students tend to end up going to law because the writing style of an art stream student, okay, for your humanities, econs, geography, as well as history, gives you ample practice in putting forth a coherent argument, which will be majority of your law-based assignments when you go to law school. All right. Now for business school, good news is with really any subject combination, you can enter business school. But do double check whether the particular business course you want requires H2 math, especially if it's linked to a double degree. So most of the schools in Singapore, okay, have business as a degree, and a lot of them will offer very enticing double degrees, direct masters, so on and so forth. And it's very competitive. Okay, a double degree in business school can be linked to computing, it can be linked to econs, it can be linked to even psychology, etc. So if you're interested in doing business at a particular school, any combination, art stream or science stream, you can apply. But if you are interested in doing a special double degree program, okay, then you might want to see whether is there any requirement, extra requirement in the subject combination. Okay. Now, next part, please. Okay, private sector. This one, being very straightforward since I was from MOE before, as well as another ministry. If you intend to go into the private sector, firstly, thank you very much. Singapore needs people like you. Okay, the most ideal subject combination is the subject combination that you can best do well in. Because at the end of the day, what determines your ability to do well in the private sector is your A-level grades. So, not to sugarcoat anything, but if you get very, very good grades, straight A, with a very good portfolio, and you get a higher, okay, public servant scholarship like PSC, you will generally be offered more opportunities to climb and more career opportunities to try out. Okay, so if you really want to go to the private sector, choose a combination that you can do well and excel in, because that particular grade, okay, will determine your level of scholarship. There are different tiers of scholarship. There's the top tier one, okay, and there are middle tier ones and there are lower tier ones. And just to be clear, all scholarships are good scholarships, because at the end of the day, they pay for your education. And university education in Singapore is not really very, very cheap to some people. All right. Okay, next. Okay, now general advice. Okay, so education-wise, take the subjects that gives you opportunities for the future and keep more doors open. At the same time, I would say when you choose your subject combination, do speak to your family members, especially you have seniors, older siblings, okay, or cousins or relatives who are not that old. Get them to share with you what their JC life was about. The main bulk of today's sharing was really about subject here, subject there. But I think it's very important for you to know, okay, what a typical life of a JC student is like, and whether are you okay or excited for that kind of lifestyle. Because the JC student's life is really about discipline. Like what your four panelists have mentioned, one of the common learning points from J1 is that they wish they had better time management. And if you're someone who feels that I really, really am not that good in time management, you should give it a second thought, okay? Or maybe, okay, take up the challenge and think, how can I improve in my time management, right? But if everything was too long and you're just very overwhelmed by now, key thing is, if you want to keep most doors open, take H2 Math and H2 Chem. That leaves you the most doors open if you are someone right now who doesn't really know where you want to go to in university. Okay. And that. All right. So moving on to the next part over here. Okay, so what does OVERMUGGED have to support the JC community? So we have group tuition, okay, and we cover the subjects from chemistry, physics, biology, GP, and econs. We have regular revision events. So when there's a WA coming up, okay, we have WA revision events. During June crash course, this is very popular. So quite a few students will drop by, okay, to get a crash course in certain topics just before their assessment. Now, I can't even say mid-year exam because you guys don't have a mid-year exam in JC1. But there will be some kind of assessment after June, okay? Or even if there isn't, a lot of students take the June holidays as a time to really catch up on what they have been lagging behind for certain subjects. Now, just before your promos, okay, which will be your only major exam in JC1 year, we have the September holiday revision program, similar to your June crash course, all right? And after your promos, okay, whether there's tears of joy or tears of regret, okay, we will help people who want to move forward in the academic direction with booster classes. Now, apart from academics, we have webinars and events. So like today's one was all about what you can look forward to when choosing your JC, to giving you more insights about the whole entire mysterious monster, which is JC subject combination. We do other webinars like university scholarship talks, okay, how to prepare your portfolio, right? And you have some not academically related stuff like March holiday movie event. Okay, last year we booked out an entire cinema and got all our students down to watch. I think it was Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, it was so popular that I even received a complaint from a parent that, hey, why didn't you book a bigger one? My son didn't attend, that kind of stuff. Okay, joking. Okay, next slide, please. So this is our tutor team. Okay, these are the tutors who will be helping you along for JC subjects if you need help too. Okay, and we all look very young and energetic, okay, and we're all passionately ready and eager to help whoever needs our help. Right? Okay, next slide, please. And these are the classes. So we are putting this up front here because last year we realized, okay, we had a lot of questions after the webinar or our open house in person. What time are the classes? So putting it all here, full disclosure, no cap, okay. Take a look at whatever timing suits you at which location. Next. All right, this is for math and econs. Okay, next. All right, and now we have come to the most exciting part of today. Okay, the Q&A portion. So we have quite a few overlapping questions. All right, and I think I'll take the very first one, which I think a lot of people are asking. What if my cutoff point does not meet the school's grade? Now, I'm going to tell you something which I think if you attend other seminars or other places, they won't tell you this. This is upfront right from being an ex-MOE teacher. You can look at applying for a junior college subject combination or school as a race of first come, first serve. So now let's say your cohort has 20,000 people, okay? How does MOE assign which school you go to? They will go in order of your L15. Okay, so if you score your score lower like 2 or 4, you are being lined up all the way until the higher score lah. Then next, what determines a JC's cutoff point is popularity. It's literally, if that school is very popular, okay, it will be applied to with the lowest scoring people. So if you're wondering how come schools like Raffles and Hwa Chong every single year get very low cutoff point, it's very simple. Students know, okay, that if I go to Raffles and Hwa Chong, I get a certain experience. And being a 2-pointer, 3-pointer, 4-pointer, okay, I want to guarantee the experience for myself before other people. I put Raffles first, okay, or Hwa Chong first. That's how they get a 4 or 2 or 3 low cutoff point every year. Now, back to the case study, someone's asking, what if I am applying to a particular school? Let's say it's 10, okay, and my cutoff point this year is 11. This is what happens, okay? If when ranking through all the Singapore students' numbers, okay, if you choose to put that school, let's say for example, it is SA, okay, you put SAJC as your first choice. Now, because your rank point is 11, by the time they clear through everybody who has gotten rank point 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, if by the last person, okay, at the 10 points, okay, they have filled up all of SAJC's vacancies, meaning to say SAJC is fully filled, you will not get a spot there. Next, let's say my second choice now is not SAJC, my second choice is ASR, and your cutoff point does meet the ASR JC's subject cutoff. What happens now is this, you don't automatically get your second selection. They will go in order. We will give everybody their first choice based on their cutoff point all the way until every Singaporean is done. Then they will look at everybody's second choice. So by putting a school which you cannot qualify for as your first choice, you are risking the situation that by the time it comes to your second choice, that for example, ASR JC, which you have qualified as a first choice, now by the time it comes to your turn, ASR might be fully filled up and you will not get a place at ASR JC. That is how they allocate students to schools based on the cutoff points. So once again, this is not to scare you. This is how the system works, from my understanding. And that is the same system of how it works at university when you're applying for courses. It's the same thing. Same for PSLE as well. Then you might wonder, can I appeal to the school? MOE has simplified the appeal process. Basically, you can only appeal to a school if your cutoff point meets that year's cutoff point. So let's say, for example, okay, I got 11 and the school I want to go to got 11. Then you can try and appeal. If you get a 12, they will not even entertain you at all. There's no way to appeal at all. And mind you, appeal doesn't mean the school will take you. It's up to whether the school has vacancies or not. Next question. How do we know each JC's vacancy? I don't know. This is privy to the school itself. All right. But generally, the vacancy increases with cohort or decreases with cohort, okay, based on the cohort size. All right. But a very easy way to do is go online, check on Reddit, ask people how large is your JC1 cohort. And that will give you a rough estimate of the number of people in the JC. Okay. Yeah. That is the first big question I can ask. If
I
not,
think to jump in over here, thank you, Glendon, for bringing us through on that. I think those questions were more of the kind of, school related, how do I apply to certain JCs? Maybe we can move on to the next set of questions, which is for the panelists. I heard that there was another question previously asking about ASR JC's program for sciences. Maybe we can get you guys to share a little bit more, the panelists. Anything else you didn't share as well can be shared at this point. as well as for the audience, if you have any further questions for the panelists, now would be the time to type them in the chat. Okay, panelists, go ahead.
As for ASR JC science opportunities, I would say because ASR JC is more like they will send you a lot of opportunities. They will send you a lot of emails through Gmail and Telegram channel, and like most of them are like competitions, and there are some workshops. And I would recommend just go sign up. And mostly our science program, there's also a STEM club in our school. It's a CCA, basically a CCA. You could join, but however, in ASR JC, they only allow you to take one CCA and not more than one CCA. So make sure to choose wisely. Yeah. So I would recommend you sign up through Gmail or Telegram channel, or other than that, you can just search up online.
Thanks for that. The very next question is CCA compulsory in JC? That's definite for sure, Brian. Next question for SAJC, how is the school spirit like? I'll hand our time over to the panelists to answer that.
I think generally in SC, the school spirit's quite good. Like, okay, we have houses, but actually we don't use them anymore. But I think 2 years ago they kind of abolished houses in a way, so we're not bonded in that sense. But I feel like generally most classes can be quite bonded, and as a whole, whenever there are school events, people are quite hyped. Like for example, open house today, there were a lot of people who did paintings, like yeah, because we had like painting booths and whatnot. Even the principal joined in. So I think that's a good show of like how bonded we are. Like during all the student performances as well, there were always like crowds watching and cheering them on. It's really something that you need to experience in person. So like today's open house, unfortunately we don't have another, but I feel that as a whole it is quite good.
Thanks, Kai-Sian, for that answer. With that, I'll bring back teacher Glennon to answer a little bit more questions on more specific subjects. Let's say, okay, let's do this one. How do hybrid courses work and are they recommended? That will be the first question for teacher Glendon.
Okay, thanks for the question. I would say more of hybrid combinations actually depending on what's your hybrid, but generally it means that you are taking H2 math and 1 H2 science and 2 H2 humanities. So in terms of what doors are open for you, because in a hybrid combination, you generally have H2 math, you are opening more doors as compared to a typical art stream student. All right. Now, next part, if I compare to a science stream student, depending on whether your hybrid combi has H2 chem, you are either opening the same number of doors as a science student or having lesser doors because you don't have H2 chem. So it really depends on what your exact combi is. But so far, the students who I've taught who have taken I would say a hybrid combination, the bigger issue is being able to juggle two very different skill sets. So for sciences and math, it's really more of applying, okay, the theory, calculations, okay, scientific stuff. Humanities is a lot about writing and putting forth your ideas. So as compared to someone who is fixed in each particular stream, their brain, their skill set will constantly be honed in that particular side. So if I'm a humanities person, okay, in an art stream, I'm constantly doing assignments which will hone my writing ability. If I'm a science student, I'll be mostly honing my ability to write, okay, to answer chemistry, physics, or bio answers, as well as practicing my math. So as a hybrid student, you have to be able to juggle your time to practice both sets of skills. Yeah, that would be the next part to consider. But in terms of opportunity to go university, you are not shortchanging yourself that much as you think.
Thanks for that, teacher Glendon. Next question. What will happen if you are not chosen for all the JC options listed in the JAE submission? That's another chat question.
Wow, okay. Thank you for that question. I think firstly, it will really depend on your cutoff point. So if you are someone who has let's say you have a 8 rank point, okay, and you didn't get any of the choices because of the scenario I mentioned, because your first 4 choices are really very competitive, what happens is this: after the posting is out, you don't get any JC, which is very unlikely, okay, what you can do now is with your score of 8, the posting results and the cutoff point for that year will be published online. You can go to a GC where you have met the criteria and appeal into them. Usually when you appeal in, they will ask you for various reasons. All right. Some people say proximity. All right. Or some people say, I'm very interested in this particular program. In this very, very exceptional case, which I have never come across before, I think a reason of I did not get into any JC will probably be sufficient reason enough for the school to heavily consider your application. Yeah. So that's a very, very, I would say, very, very rare scenario. I've not seen that before. Usually, if your cutoff point is very near the schools that you have applied in your first, second, and third choice, you more or less will get one of those schools. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Teacher Glendon. Next question is, if I take a 4H2, is it true that the lowest performing H2 will convert to a H1?
Yes, that's right. On this note, I'll just extend a bit. I know quite a lot of you are thinking of doing a 4H2 because you are concerned that I will do badly for 1H2 and you want it to be insurance. So I want to just share with you the amount of time you're going to spend to study 4H2s versus 3H2 and a H1 is very different. So if your strategy is to do all 4H2s and invest all your time there, sure, go ahead. It's going to be very, very challenging. What I would like to offer you to think is this. If you're already someone who's very, very productive, what if I channel all of my year one's energy into those 3H2 subjects? So what happens is this, you will generally do better in those 3H2 subjects. And for the H1, all right, you can just put in the effort that's enough to get you to pass. So there are two big chains of thoughts on this. I've actually had this discussion with my current students in schools. We met up over lunch and I was telling them this. So you're in either camp. Third thing to address is, can I fail a H1? Now, as strange as it might seem to the panelists, okay, because when you go through a JC 1 year, it's quite common to see the F grade. It is very hard to fail A-levels. Okay, to say again, it is very, very hard to fail A-levels. What do I mean very hard? It means that for the entire 2 years in 1 year in JC 2 year, you refuse to learn anything. You refuse to pass up any work. You refuse to practice. You refuse to study. And it is very strange to find that in any JC 2 student. Because by the time you're JC 2, you're mature enough, you have some level of self-control and responsibility. You will not allow yourself to do that. So you have to purposely not do all of that, then you will fail a subject. So not it's impossible. It takes a lot of effort to fail. Okay? And so just using your usual effort that has gotten you a great set of results for your O-levels would be more than enough to help you pass your H1, in all honesty, based on my experience.
Thanks for that, Teacher Glenn. And the next question is, can we put a mix of JCs and polys as choices if we don't really have much JCs that you can qualify for? That's a good question.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can do that.
Okay, with that, on to the next question. I'll take some questions for our panelists. There was a question that asked whether BCME or PCME is more advantageous for application for medicine. Panelists, go ahead.
I would say BCME is definitely more advantageous because in the future, when you do end up studying medicine, there'll be more bio concepts compared to physics. So from what I heard from seniors is that where those who took physics end up struggling when they do medicine. So I would definitely recommend BCME because it's easier for you to catch up as compared to PCME students. Yeah, but you can still get in through BCME, just that it'll be harder for you to catch up. You can PCME. You can still apply to medicine using PCME.
For that, Rakhavi. Ying, anything to add? If not, we'll move on to the next question. Ying, anything?
I think like I support Raghavi's point of view, but I think it doesn't matter whether you take T or you take B. Taking B, the advantage is of course in terms of learning, because from my senior who's currently doing medicine at Yonglin in NUS, he said that if you don't take bio, H2 bio, but you enter through physics, it's perfectly okay. But they will go through the whole H2 bio A-level syllabus within the span of 1 semester, which is probably at most half a year. So it will be really rushed, and a lot of your counterparts will already know this like content well, so it will be really easy for them. So if you have the discipline to catch up of this on your own and you believe that you can pace yourself well, then I don't think physics or bio really matters.
Thank you for that, Ying Ying. We're opening some questions for H2 chemistry before we move on to the art stream questions. Any questions for H2 chemistry? It'll be the time to drop them in the chat now. If not, I'll move on to address one question about higher mother tongue O levels. If I'm not wrong, if you took O-level higher mother tongue, you won't need to take Chinese anymore in JC. I see the panelists nodding. Yeah, that was for my year. I think it applies as well for you guys. We have another question for HCI. Hi, for HCI, is it true that the art stream isn't well developed? Just to jump in over here, actually, just to note that, right, there are only certain schools which offer a HSP program, which is especially for the art stream. So those are very premium programs and scholarships for only certain schools. HCI is one of those that offer it. I personally took the HSP program in Temasek Junior College. I'll leave our panelists to answer the question for HCI's art stream.
Okay, so I don't think I can give a fair enough answer because I'm not part of the program. I just have friends in the program. And I don't think, this is the first time somebody has told me that our art stream is kind of lacking because we're a bit more well known for science, not a lot of extensive research. But I don't think our art stream is lacking because from what I see, the art students, they really get a lot of enrichment program. It's just exclusive to them. I think most prominently in the humanities scholar program, they get to go to Japan, they get to go for so many workshops. And outside of that, they also have their own like law society where they actually go down, they go and talk to members of the parliament and they actually get to shadow them in the high court, etc., etc. And from what I heard, the art stream, like the art teachers, likewise, they're very good at their job, they're really competent. And if you're considering to take knowledge and inquiry KI, we have a KI teacher who, from my friends, what they told me who take KI, they say he's the one who proposed this subject to MOE and he's the one that came up with the subject. So if you want to take KI, that's a really good bonus point for you. But yeah, I think in general, our art stream is actually quite strong and they are not really lacking.
Thanks for that. Hopping on to some more questions about the art stream. I have an interesting question. Is it true that for humanities exams, we will be typing now? I heard from the lit department during the SAJC open house that they are typing on computer. Is this true, Kaisin, for SAJC?
I don't really, the only art subject I take in a sense is history, but from what I've heard in the 2026, so the next year A levels, history and lit exams will be digital, so typing. That's what I heard because my history teacher was saying how if we retained, we would have to learn a whole new method of answering in a sense where it's on computer now. So like the question paper is still physical, but answers will be digital. That's what I heard. I think right now it only applies to history and lit for the 2026 A levels.
Thanks, Kaisin, for that. If that is the case, it will help you guys a lot in your A levels because for the art stream, you guys are going to be writing a lot. So with that, moving on to a few more questions for the art stream. I have a question from Joanne that says, would you suggest taking H2 history if I only took elective history in secondary school? Well, the question then is, how proficient are you in your history? For H2 history, personally, when I took it, the questions were quite tough because the skills as well that were required and the arguments that were required in JC are a lot more difficult than what's required at the O-level standard. If I'm not wrong, I heard from O-level students that a lot of memorization for history helps in the O-levels, but for A-levels, it is no longer only the case. You have to make very nuanced arguments, and it can be quite tough. So the question then is directed back at you, whether you feel that you are interested enough in history to continue learning further skills to sharpen your arguments for history. Next question from Dikshita is economics very hard hard to grasp? That's a fantastic question. I think it really depends on whether you are good with your math. For me personally, I found econs to be quite tough in my year because there were a lot of graphs. And as a full art student, I think having both essay components and still needing to draw graphs at the same time was kind of throwing me off a little bit. So for those students who are very good at your art subjects, if you need to take econs die, then you need to take. But if you can avoid it, if you're really bad at math, then I would say avoiding it might be possibly a good idea. Next question for SAJC, are the arts departments good, specifically for history and geography? Kaisi?
I actually typed the response, but I cannot speak for geography at all. I don't take geog, and I have never asked any of my friends who took geog how it was. But speaking on the behalf of like the H1 history at least, okay, I can't lie, I don't think it's the best. But it might be because I'm taking H1 history, so the in a sense where, because I know that H2 history gets more help. Like I've seen the classrooms that they've used afterwards, like the whiteboard is full of like mind maps and stuff. But for H1, we don't really get that usually. I've realized like for content wise, because I took pure history, so I'm not that bad off in the sense where I already learned all the content last year. The year before. So like it's the answering techniques that I usually struggle with. We do have notes for that and whatnot, but I think it really just depends on how much practice you want to do. Because at least for my teacher, it's like you do, then he will mark. You don't do, he will mark. He won't chase for it, that type of thing. So it's it's really very dependent on like yourself, and he's very willing for consults as well. So, but in terms of like notes wise, at least for H1, I don't think it's that great.
Thank you, Kaisin, for that response. Just to open questions to the floor right now, it's almost 1 minute to 9 p.m., which is when our webinar is ending. If you have any dire questions, burning questions in your heart that want answers, please send them in the chat immediately. Or if not, at 9:30 p.m. or even earlier, we're going to open TikTok live as well, where you can come over directly to our TikTok to ask some questions. Last question for the art stream that I'll be answering is from Chloe. Will there be a steep learning curve from O-levels literature to H2 literature? I had A1, but not sure if I should continue to take in JC versus economics. That's a fantastic question. Actually, H2 literature is quite hard to grasp, but if you are able to understand the techniques that are necessary for your essay to make it a good essay, you will be especially good at it. But the difference between O-levels and H2 literature is quite big. So for those students who think you can easily ace H2 literature, I will have to look you in the eye and tell you that, that's definitely wrong. So do be careful. And if you need some resources or if you have some questions about H2 literature as well, we will definitely be putting up some notes to help you take a look so that you can know, okay, roughly how do the questions look like. Same for the other subjects as well, the H2 subjects for chemistry, biophysics, we'll be posting them on Instagram. So please take a look and use that to help you make a good decision on whether you want to take those subjects as H2 subjects in JC. If not, if there are no more questions, we will just take the next 10 seconds or so to round up the Q&A. Maybe we can take another 3 more questions from the floor. Any dire questions? Maybe we can take this one. Is it safe to take H1 or H2 bio if I got A2 in O-level bio? Maybe this one can be directed to teacher Glendon.
Okay, just to answer for everybody, if you have gotten an A2 for any subject, you are very well placed to do well in a H2 subject. Okay, B3 also can. Key idea here is this B3, A2, and A1 puts you in a very good, favorable situation to have a good foundation for any of your H2 subjects, regardless of whichever subject is it. So whether it's like humanities or math, B3, A2, A1 sets you up pretty well. So if an A2, definitely you are primed for a good foundation for H2 bio.
Thank you for that, Teacher Glendon. We are just going to wait and see if there are any last desperate burning questions. Because after this, Teacher Glendon will be hopping off. Okay, last question maybe we'll take is A2 for HCL and A grade in the A-levels. Let's see if any of the panelists or Teacher Glendon can help us answer this. Actually, the question is a little bit confusing. If you took HCL in the O levels, it therefore means that you no longer need to take mother tongue in your JC actually. So this shouldn't be too much of a concern. For those people who didn't do so well in your mother tongue, you will likely have to take this thing called CLB. I'm not too sure. Maybe the panelists can check. CLB, is that something that you guys still do? It's for students who still need to take mother tongue if they didn't clear it during the O levels.
Wait, I can
Yeah, I
answer
can take
some of
Gary's
that
question.
also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kai-Sing, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. A2 in HCL should translate to a A grade in H1 Chinese. And although you don't have to take it, some students do choose to retake H1 Chinese to get a better grade. So if they scored like a B3 or B4, which translates to a B. And if you didn't take, so I think CLB is only offered if like you got a C6 and below for normal Chinese in O levels. So like you just yeah. C6 below, if I'm not wrong, is when schools might offer you CLB. Otherwise, you would have to take H1 Chinese or H1 whatever mother tongue it is. That's from my understanding.
Okay,
Thanks, Kai-Sing,
let me
for
take
that.
let me take two questions. The first one on computing. So computing is not mentioned here simply because not all schools offer H2 computing. All right. So computing is only a H2 subject right now, if I'm not wrong. So if you are taking computing, then generally it gives you an advantage if you want to enter computer science. All right. But do check all the different universities. I do believe H2 computing is not a compulsory subject yet, because not all schools have it. So it will not be fair to make it a compulsory subject. But just like the example of engineering and physics, bio and medicine, if you take H2 computing, it gives you an advantage to take computer science. One question. Would local units accept more 4H2 or 3H2? Okay, just to be very clear. So when you are applying for your university, okay, eventually, you don't even have to key in anything. Your scores will be there. There is no alphabet. It's just your rank point upon 70. And it's all automated. The schools do not get to choose you based on your whether you take 3H2 or 4H2, simply because this information is not given to the university. Your 4th H2 will automatically be excluded in this scenario. They will take your best 3H2 scores and it will enter into your 70 rank points. So the system will not know whether you are a 4H2 student or a 3H2 plus 1H1. Okay. Extending to that, what if I take a H3? When you apply for a university to enter the course, H3 is not included at all. H3 is only to get you into top tier scholarships. So if you're thinking, if I take a H3, does it help me get into medicine? Not really lah. Okay, so H3 is going to really fight for top tier government scholarships or overseas scholarships. All right.
All right, it seems that that is our last question for today. With that, we'd like to thank everybody, all of you guys, for making time to come down to OVERMUGGED's JC subject selection and combination webinar. We also will be having a TikTok live that's going to be hosted by teacher AJ at 9:15 p.m. I've attached the link in the group chat below. So if you would like to hop on to TikTok, if you're a little bit shy to send any of your messages in a Zoom chat, please head over to TikTok and you can send teacher AJ some questions live. He'll just be tuning in and you guys can type your questions anytime in the chat. With that, we'd like to thank everybody for coming in today. We'd like to thank our very wonderful panelists as well. And we'll also be sending you the link very shortly into this Zoom chat and on our website as well for the slides for today. So if you didn't catch any of the information, you can find it once again. With that, thank you everybody, and don't hop off first. Wait for the link for the slides to be sent in, and have a good night.